exciting.
Actually worked.
Awesome.
So
Hey, you're a genius.
well, it only took us 5 tries and 2 days to do it.
Well, not just parts of 2 days, not
Right.
Genius. Okay.
Well, it only took us 5 tries and 2 days to do it.
Yeah. Well, not just parts of 2 days. What do you mean?
Right.
You are
Right.
genius. Okay.
Well, it only took us 5 tries and 2 days to do it.
Yeah.
Do you hear that?
Right. You are
right. There's some kind of a loop going on, and all of a sudden
Well, it only
it's
took us
repeating what
5
we
tries
said.
and 2 days to do it.
Okay. Well, hopefully it won't do that anymore. Yeah, it could be. Maybe I just need to keep it away from it.
Is that your sound turned down as well?
Okay.
Is your volume turned down?
Well, hopefully it won't do that anymore. Yeah, it could be. Maybe I just need to keep it away from it.
Is that your sound turned down as well?
I'm trying to turn down my volume now.
Okay. Is your volume turned down?
Hopefully it won't do that anymore. Yeah, it could be. Maybe I just need to keep it away from it.
Is that your sound turned down as well?
I'm trying to turn down my volume now. Okay, I have the volume off, so that shouldn't be a problem anymore. So I think we're good to go now. Okay, so it says to talk about the session that we watched in comparison to the chapter 6. So what were some of the connections you made?
They were, I thought it was really interesting in a lot of different ways. I thought that, if I go through the chapter 6, page by page, I can see some of the notes and comparisons I made.
Right.
I also printed off a transcript from the video and made some notes on that. But here's something I noticed right at the beginning. The mom and the dad didn't sit together. They were separated by the daughter.
Right, I noticed that too.
Yeah, so there was obviously something going on there.
Right.
And I thought it was very interesting when the therapist orchestrated it so the daughter would move and the husband would sit next to the wife.
Right, I noticed that too.
And then what happened after that? What did the husband do?
Let's see, what did the husband do?
He put his arm around his wife.
Oh, right, I actually didn't notice that.
Almost immediately. I thought that was really interesting. So I thought he did a good job of orchestrating that to bring them together. And there's something in here that refers to. Do you know what it is?
That refers to what?
That refers to what he was trying to accomplish there with the husband and wife.
Maybe connectedness?
Yeah?
I mean, I have the chapter 6 in front of me. Let's see, connectedness. So it says seeking reconnection Reconciliation of troubled relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, and also, sort of, since we're talking about that connection right there was obviously part of the therapy session where the husband was explaining the mom's behavior,
Right.
the wife's behavior, and that was causing a lot of the stress.
Right.
She was overreacting. I thought it was really interesting how the counselor tried to reframe everything.
Right.
He reframed it that the husband was trying to protect her when he would get upset, and try and take some of that pressure off of her. So he was trying, there was some buffering going on.
Definitely.
To bring that situation up differently. So it wasn't just mom being crazy, he was trying to respond to her need for support.
Right, that was definitely true. And they talked about how he's not only coming to his son from a fatherly perspective, but also as a husband. I remember the therapist talking about that.
Yeah, he did a really good job of guiding them.
Right.
I think another thing I think he did was he helped to rebuild and reorganize and reorientate how the family was thinking.
Right.
Because at the beginning, the parents said, "Well, we're afraid he's dead," and then they said, "Well, we just want him to be safe."
Right.
And then they said, "We really just have to know where he is."
Right.
The counselor helped guide them through that.
Definitely.
That was good.
I think that fits into chapter 6 when it talks about collaborative problem solving. And one of the sections says focusing on goals. And wait, where was it? Hold on just a sec. Oh, clarity. So clarification of ambiguous situations. So that was definitely, they didn't seem quite sure of what they were really feeling. And so the therapist kind of helped them realize that. He helped them find out the truth behind what was really going on. That was just one thing that.
Notes there as well. It's on page 139 of chapter 6. That clarifying of, when people start to first explain things, they kind of go to the top of the order. In other words, they're kind of escalated.
Right.
And then he kind of works them down.
That's definitely true.
You're concerned about them being dead. Son, they're worried about you, Jimmy. His name is Jimmy. And then it's, well, they're concerned about your safety. And then it's, where are you? How come you don't tell them where you're at? And the sister, also she said at the beginning that she was worried about him and that he was doing bad things. Right. And that there was a yelling going on between him and her. And so she was, at first I wondered if she was just more concerned about herself than him. Right. I don't know if you picked up on that. But I think, I just wondered if that was, and it didn't seem to come out because the counselor didn't go there. The therapist didn't go there at all. Right. Their response to the son seemed unclear at first, especially to the son. Like she came across as yelling at him a lot, and but really it was because she cared about him and loved him, which obviously wasn't clear to the son. Or that's just another one of those things that escalate. He takes it to here. You don't care about him. And that's probably what's really in his brainstem at that point is, you're yelling at me, you're treating me this around me because you can't stand me.
Right.
So that I can see how that would come through. And I noticed also that whenever the counselor was talking to the mom, the dad, and the sister about Jeremy, and they were responding to something about him, they would look at him. Jeremy would never look back.
Yeah, I did notice that too.
Yeah. In fact, he generally kept his eyes down.
Right.
I'm not sure how that relates to anything in here. I just think it's an observation as to his capacity to engage.
That makes sense.
Which was small.
Right.
And it makes sense, though, because he felt he wasn't valued. And I think some of that goes back to, on page 136, it refers to tracking stressors and coping and adaptation processes. They had a big move from a long way away to a new place. And moving is very stressful.
Right.
I'm sure you probably moved a couple times in your life.
Yes.
Very stressful.
Very stressful.
And then the second thing that happened, his dad wasn't around as much.
That's true.
And that was a big adjustment in coping. And obviously there was a disconnect in trying to cope with those changes. And I understand how that feels, when if I'm not feeling connected with my wife or she's not feeling connected with me, it makes it harder to communicate. Because I feel, she doesn't understand me. Or she thinks she doesn't understand me. And that you tend to have a wedge.
Definitely.
But they didn't know that wedge was there, and they didn't know how to take it out.
Right. That's definitely true. And there were, in those kind of situations, you start thinking inward and less about the other person, and you miss how they're actually feeling.
There's only two people in a group. It's a lot of responsibility on both of us to fill this time.
Right.
When there be some other opinions chiming in.
Right.
Something else I noticed, if you go to page 143, the very bottom paragraph, the first line, it says, ordinary families worry a good deal about their own normality. And at the end of the conversation, the mom admitted that they're a little bit apprehensive about coming in there and how it would turn out. She's worried. They're worried about, hey, is this normal? Am I really crazy? Because that word was thrown around quite a bit. And people are concerned, how do I compare with others? Am I really that in outer space?
That's definitely true. Where was that quote? 143, you said?
Yeah, 143. And then it says, because of that, in a culture that readily pathologizes families and counts the virtues of self-reliance, family members are likelier to approach therapy feeling abnormal for having a problem or being deficient for not being able to solve it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, when you go to see counseling, it's like, okay, you've hit that point.
Right.
It's bad. We're obviously can't handle this. We're obviously insufficient in doing things. And
the therapist seemed to realize this, that they probably felt uncomfortable, and he spent a lot of time, like the first 10 minutes or so, he just talked to them casually, asked them about who they were, and they seemed to get more comfortable. And so I thought he was really good at that. Just making casual conversation with them, making them feel comfortable.
I think you overdid gotcha.
What was that?
I think you overdid gotcha. Oh, gotcha.
Right.
in his responses to them. He said, "Gotcha" a lot.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, and another thing that he did was he would like clarify if he understood them correctly. He would reiterate everything back to them, and he would ask, "Did I understand that correctly?" And that was one of the things that we learned in this class. More like in our own families, that it's good to do that, and it's good to clarify and make sure that you understand things correctly. And he did a lot of that.
Sometimes, and I don't know if this is, there has to do with the way that, part of reframing is listening and reflecting back, right? Trying to reframe what they say into a different perspective,
right?
Or help them do that,
right?
Sometimes I wonder if he was leading them too much and giving them an answer they would agree to.
Yeah.
He would say, "So in this, and this," rather than asking, "So is this what you mean?"
Right. Yeah, I noticed that too. He's kind of leading them in a certain direction.
And I don't know if that's a therapeutic kind of way to do it,
right?
To help them see there's a different way to look at it, or if he really was leading them. But in the end, the effect was good.
Right.
I think, yeah.
I think that he was trying to make everything positive. He was trying to, I mean, maybe it was inaccurate, but he was always trying to look for the good in like their intentions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that he talks about is positive outlook. Maybe that was his way of keeping the conversation in a positive light rather than trying to cause more conflict.
Yes, I agree. And I think part of that, and that positive intention is on page 146. And I think along with that is when he talks about the husband and the wife going on a date. I thought that was really a strong thing to bring them closer together.
Right.
To give them a reason to do that. And then he suggested that, let's see here. Well, first of all, actually, it was talking about the son and the father spending more time together because they don't talk as much anymore. And the son said, "Yeah, well, Dad could drive me to the skate park. And we can talk then." And then it was go on a date with your wife. And then it was the sister, "Jimmy, do you think you and your sister could go out for a soda or an ice cream or something?
Right.
So you guys can just talk." That was really facilitating a nice way to bring them together.
Right. Did it talk about that in the chapter about strengthening those individual relationships?
Well, on page 146, it says identifying, affirming, and building family strength.
There we go. That's perfect.
Yeah. And then, and along with that, he did at the bottom, it says praising efforts and achievements. He praised them. There's one part where it says, where the therapist asked Jimmy, says, "What are you going to take with you from this conversation?" And he says, "Well, I guess the idea that my parents don't hate me, but just that they're freaking out." And the therapist says, "You mean they're just worried to check?" And the son says, "Yeah." And the therapist says, "It's pretty dang important to know that your mom and dad are worried and that they love you. That's cool. And I appreciate that you guys can say that. Not all families are willing or able to do that." That was really good, positive feedback.
Oh, yeah.
And then the daughter right after that said, "I don't know, I guess I don't have to tattle on Jimmy all the time." Another positive thing that's coming from their conversation.
The therapist was definitely good at keeping a positive outlook. He also focused on their strengths. He focused on the strengths of their relationships and tried to kind of bring those back, because like things seemed to be good before, but now that he's older and he's 18 and he thinks he can do whatever he wants, then those relationships are kind of being strained. So he kind of was focusing on the positives and trying to revert back to before all these problems started happening, trying to rebuild like the father and son relationship, like you said, with they were going to go out and get a soda or something.
And along with that, when you say he was trying to build, he was saying things. So you're really concerned about your brother,
right?
You yell at him because you're concerned about him. She said, yeah. And the mom and dad, we get upset because we're concerned about you. We love you. We're worried about you. I was really impressed. There was nobody out of control in the session. Everybody was very calm,
right,
and very constructive. That's probably just the family. I'm sure other families come in and they're pointing and yelling and blaming.
True.
And there wasn't a whole lot of blaming going on.
No.
I thought that was incredible.
They did all seem to kind of blame the son for the problems, though.
Oh, yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
It wasn't ever their parenting or anything that was to blame. It was always his bad choices or him not doing this.
Yeah, in other words, if he wasn't acting this way, they would be in there.
Right. And it was him who had the bad attitude, but obviously he was also feeling kind of ganged up on, and he was feeling like everybody was yelling at him. And whether that's true or not isn't really relevant. It's always about how each person feels. And so the therapist did a great job recognizing his feelings and validating them. And I think that helped everything be, helped things from getting out of hand.
Mm-hmm. And that part of that has to do with page 152, where the heading is refocusing from complaints to aims, trying to change the cycle from one thing to something more healthy language.
Uh-huh.
So trying to remove the critical nature of the relationship.
Right.
And, he did that really well. One thing that also was interesting is, I don't know if it's interesting, but when you talk about Jimmy responding back in a negative way, he just kind of withdrew.
Yeah, that's true.
In the home and the circumstances that were going on. They engaged him, and he responded back. And he didn't engage. I mean, basically, there was no engagement, it sounds like, until they jumped on him.
Yeah, that's true.
At home. But the therapist did a good job in trying to refocus all of that. I guess this crosses a number of boundaries in the concepts we're learning.
Right.
The therapist continually did a good job to refocus, reframe, bring these negative comments and try and tone them down.
Right.
And thoughts and reframe them, structured, so everybody looks at each other differently.
That's definitely true. And like you were saying, the teenage boy was kind of withdrawn from the discussion at first, and I kind of speculated why that might be, and I And I could kind of, I could definitely sympathize with him. He is the rebellious teenager, and and it kind of seems like he's in trouble at first. And I feel like that's kind of what he thought going into therapy. It kind of seemed like he's in here because it's his fault and he's in trouble. And that's why everybody has to go to therapy. But the therapist didn't make him feel like that. And he got him to open up. And he got him to see that it was just miscommunications that they were working through. I thought that was pretty interesting.
I know with our own kids, when there's miscommunications, they're all grown now, but when there were miscommunications, especially teenagers, a lot of it had to do with how much we were investing in them individually.
Right.
And the more you withdraw from somebody, whether it's intentional or not intentional, that person who feels that withdrawal is going to affect them.
Right.
What about when the dad started talking about his family? Remember that?
How they were not really involved.
Yeah, how his parents weren't involved.
Uh-huh.
And that's my dad. But okay, yeah. Yeah, he says, when he's talking to the dad, how did you guys do this in your family when you were a kid? Did your parents ever worry about you that way? Not really, but my parents, they're not really a part of their kid's life either. So it sounds like when he was growing up, he didn't have a good connection or find a need to talk with his parents because they didn't reciprocate.
Right.
And on page 138, it talks about genograms. Have you ever done a genogram?
Yeah, I've done one. Yep.
Okay. So I think if, obviously you wouldn't know to do this before you come in, but a genogram probably would help the dad to realize what goes on in his family culture.
Right.
And why is he the way he is now? And so it still could be useful, as certainly one therapy session is not going to help everything. And so maybe in the future the therapist could recommend, genogram for the dad especially.
Right. And I feel like in response to the way he was raised, he was kind of trying to be the opposite, where he's more involved. And so maybe he was too strict. I mean, I'm not saying he was, but I mean, that could definitely lead to that, where he's trying to be the opposite of how his family was. That's just a thought I had, but I didn't really even think about that too much.
Well, further on in that discussion about what the dad says, my parents were really a part of their kid's life, and so the therapist system, gotcha. So this is sort of new territory for you, because they said they really don't. And the dad and the son says, at one point says, I don't know. It seems like their parents let them do whatever they want. Yeah.
Right.
So he's thinking, well, if that's the way you did it, Dad, that's kind of the way I'm doing it. Or I'd like you to let me do it the way your parents did it.
Right.
But then the son also recognizes that even though he wants to be more ambiguous, he says, one of my friends just tells his dad so because his dad is cooler about it, meaning, being gone. And the therapist says, so your friend will sort of keep in touch with his dad about things? And the son says, well, yeah. And that's at the end of the conversation. And so the son is wanting something with his dad. I mean, it becomes clearer.
Right.
When those comments are made. And then after that, shortly, it's about going together to the skate park, which the son brings up, and I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
About close up.
Another thing that he did, the therapist did, was he talked about religion, and he didn't like overtly say anything about God. He just talked about that parents have this kind of intuition about their kids. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he talked about that, and he just brought that into there, and it kind of gave their parenting role this newer meaning, I think.
Yeah, I remember that. He said, I don't care what if you have a religious belief or not, but there's something there that helps families or something.
Exactly, yeah. It was something like that. And then another section was flexibility, and I'm trying to think of how that was used in the therapy session. So capacity to change. I think that everyone was definitely willing to do all of the things that they were asked to do.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Flexibility in maybe in their thought.
Yeah.
How the situation.
Right. So like the husband and wife were willing to, try going on a date, and they were and the son and the dad were gonna do things, and everybody was open to those changes.
Yeah. And here's something interesting the daughter said about being flexible, changing her frame of mind and looking at it from a different perspective. This is near the end when they were kind of discussing some of the things they've come to in their discussion, some of the changes and ideas, and the therapist asked them, how do you feel about this coming into chat and so forth? And the father said, I kind of understand Jimmy a little bit more. And the daughter said, I guess I saw Jimmy like how he used to be, kind of. He is changing because he's getting older. It's not just because he's willing to be distant, I guess. I thought that was pretty perceptive for that younger teenage sister to say that.
Right, that is true.
That showed a real openness in her willing to be there.
Right.
In the moment. And I don't know how that frames to the therapist way of treating a family.
Right.
But it's really cool that they were able to get to that point with the daughter.
Right. And whenever they would try and solve a problem, it wasn't just the therapist telling them what to do. He gave them ideas, and he had them think of ideas too. So the skateboard thing was their idea, but it was kind of introduced by the therapist. The skate park idea, so it was their idea, but it was also his idea. So they were collaborating. It was definitely a shared decision making.
So on page 154, you bring that up. The paragraph is titled "Encouraging Shared Efforts, Concrete Steps, and Perseverance." So I think possibly some of the shared effort he was trying to do was trying to get them to engage with one another. Let's take the bickering out of it. Let's take that, put it here, and let's take you guys and put you over here on those dates and those time with each other kind of thing.
Right.
And that takes two people to want to do that, and he facilitated that. Even facilitating having the son take places with the daughter so he can sit next to the parent.
Right.
I mean, you're about 3/4 of the way through.
Oh, hold on. Sorry about that.
That's fine. So a the time, they will come to believe that these shared efforts can make a difference. That's that collaborative thing you were talking about earlier. You know, I'm wondering, when a family comes in like that, what's the sense of hope when they come in there?
Right.
Do they really, do all four of them have a sense of something's going to get better? You know, Jimmy being that he's the center of attention, is he thinking, well, they're just all going to come down on me, so I'm just going to be quiet and look down the whole time?
Right.
You know, what they come into it is what their perceptions are coming in.
I would guess they were at least somewhat skeptical. I think that I would be.
Something else I noticed was interesting. In talking about how Jimmy's kind of the center of attention, they're all worried about trying to help him or not be afraid for him.
Right.
He says, okay, and maybe Jimmy, in a funny way, it may not be obvious, you're a pretty powerful guy here. I mean, what you do or don't do sounds like it energizes everybody in this house, largely out of concern for you.
That was pretty interesting. I wonder why he did that.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just said I wonder why he did that. I wondered when I watched the video if he had some kind of intent in telling him that. Maybe it helped him feel more part of the discussion.
I think it's just restating the obvious.
Right.
So maybe it's like saying that because he's asking Jimmy, do you get power out of this? Because you're kind of the wheel that rolls the wagon. And so nothing really happened after that. But it was all, you know, obviously brought out that, gosh, yeah, Jimmy is kind of running the show. We're all revolving around him.
Right. It's
Everybody
true.
knows Jimmy. Did you have any ideas on instilling hope and optimism? I think you talked about that a little bit earlier, didn't you?
I talked about the positive outlook, instilling hope. Let's see.
That's on page 153. That's where that heading is. Which follows page 151 that says adopting a positive, future-oriented focus.
Right, because they made plans for the future, so that was kind of their hopeful outlook.
Yeah.
At least that's what I would think.
And at the end, they demonstrated that.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think they were surprised at the progress that they made in just that one session.
Yeah, I think so too. And he asked them at the end what they thought of the whole experience. And
do you remember at the beginning when they were talking about whether or not Jimmy was drinking or doing drugs, and the therapist said something, I understand completely if you don't want to, you know, talk about that or address that right now. And
right.
It was kind of put on the shelf.
That's
and
true.
Later on, Jimmy opened up and said, the funny thing is, I don't do any of that stuff.
Right.
He was confident enough and realized that there is some care for him, that he can say, you know, I don't do that stuff.
Right.
That's not what's going on. What's going on is the relationship.
And I don't think that Jimmy would have told the therapist that until he became comfortable enough.
Right. So the therapist kept that conversation going where the son could see what was going on around with the mom, dad, and the daughter, and the reframing, and then he could see that they don't hate me, and they shouldn't worry because I don't do those things. But, even if my kids were out that late and I didn't know where they were and I knew they weren't drinking or doing drugs, I'd still be worried.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, I think according to the instructions, the last 15 minutes,
Right. Summarize.
kind of talk about what we,
We really just went through the table 6.1. So in the chapter, there's that table, and it kind of has bullet points of all the different steps to resilience. So we just kind of talked about each of those on page 133. So we talked about the positive outlook, keeping everything optimistic, transcendence and spirituality, brought up faith and religion, even if you're not religious, flexibility, everybody is willing to change, connectedness, he tried to connect the husband and wife, having them sit next to each other, and he had them go on a date, seeking reconnection.
I just thought that was so pivotal.
That's true.
Mom and dad aren't together. It's hard to keep the family.
Right.
Yes.
Clarity, he helped clear everything up. Nothing was ambiguous. He helped find.
That was a big part.
Right. It's like the main thing he did.
To find out the truth.
Exactly. And then open emotional expression. Did we talk about that? Open emotional expression? I mean, I guess it says pleasurable interaction, humor. He definitely made a lot of jokes in there.
Yeah, that's true. He did use some humor. Definitely some of it self-deprecating.
Right.
Just an old guy who wants to talk to me.
Right.
Conflict resolution. Right?
Right. They definitely came to a resolution at the end. Or at least plans. What was that?
And there's some concrete steps.
Right.
I think. There's some goals they had to achieve. At the beginning, at the very top, the meaning of diversity. I think he did, some of that throughout the session.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Appraisal of crisis, distress, and recovery. So I think that's, first you appraise the crisis or the distress, and then you focus the therapy on how to recover from it.
Right.
I think that's
sounds right.
Good. Like a good approach. Yeah. I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, I was impressed. That's the first time that I had seen an example like that. So I found it really helpful. I love examples.
Yeah.
Now, random question. It was called a simulated family therapy session. Does that mean, so they were not an actual family? Were they students?
I think they were family.
If they weren't, they were really good actors.
Yeah. Maybe they'd already been to some counseling before, and they were reenacting some of the initial things that they went through. I don't know.
That could be too, yeah.
Yeah, who knows? I think progress seemed to be made, and I think it was indicative of how a lot of families would respond to therapy. Somebody's going to be shut down. Somebody's going to overstate things. You know, the parents, you could be dead.
Right.
Pretty natural, yeah. Yeah, that was good. Good. So, Shane, I have a question for you. You
Yes.
want to date your wife?
I do. Try to.
Good. Good.
It's busy though. School
I
and work.
recommend that every week. We've been doing it for almost 30 years. Makes a big difference.
We try to as often as we can.
What's that?
We try to as often as we can.
Hard. Our son and daughter, they're down in Lubbock. He's going to school there. And they have some friends where they trade back and forth babysitting, so the other family, the other couple can go out.
There you go. That's smart.
I thought that was pretty smart. Their kids are about the same age.
Uh-huh.
So it fits nicely. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Anything else that we should do here?
I think that's everything. So I can make the summary, and I mean, I can just submit the summary if you want, unless you want to go over it, but.
Why don't you send it to me so I can have some input on there, and I can feel like I'm doing something to help.
Right. All right. I'll send it to you then.
Send it back to you, and then you would upload it.
Yeah.
The video link.
Yep.
Okay.
So, do you want me to send it to your Gmail?
Send it to my email, the Hotmail account.
Okay. And what one was that? Well, I guess this is going to be live, so I don't know if you want to, give your email out on YouTube. You can just send it to me in a text message.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. Well.
Good idea. Thanks, Shane.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
You're a great partner.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
See you later.